On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
That's why I didn't call this Branden Cook construction. I wanted it to be something, homeland was home and land, obviously, but I wanted it to be something that you could be proud to go home and tell your wife and kids, hey, I work for Homeland, or I got a job with, or you wouldn't believe what we did, or look at our billboard. I wanted it to be something you could grab onto.
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in.
What's up, everybody? Chaz Wolfe, Gathering the Kings. I've got another king for you here on today's stage. Branden Cook, welcome, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. If I was any better, I'd need a twin brother to share all this glory with.
I haven't heard that one before. I think for a half second, that would be really cool to have two of me because then we could get a lot of stuff done. But then I don't know if the world could handle the crazy. Do you feel similar to that?
Yeah, no, I understand that completely. I'm always saying, I need another one of me. I need another one of me. But then I start thinking, I'm like, maybe I don't. Maybe that's too much. Maybe too
exactly. Much. Yeah. I think we're made just the way we are for a reason. So, Branden, I'm so excited to have you here. Excited for the conversation. Tell us what kind of businesses that you have.
I've got a couple of irons in the fire. Of course, my main company is Homeland Construction LLC. So we do custom homes, land development, commercial restaurants, more on the custom side of restaurants. As far as I used to do a lot of franchises. Now we do more niche stuff, like specific crazy theme stuff.
That's cool.
We train rope horses, stuff like that. It's called Performance Horse. It's another business of mine. I got a few little tricks up my sleeve, diversified, and I'm a go-getter, man. So if I can do it right, make a buck, and make people happy, then those are my 3 coins of success, man. If you can make money, people like it, and you're happy, you're good.
Yeah, I love that. Well, obviously, we could talk a lot about the construction space, but yeah, man, even with the training of the horses and stuff, I think that it's super applicable as far as like decisions making and how you're going about that business. I think that you could pull in some of that here to the conversation as well. I want to know before we get rolling, obviously you've done some pretty big projects, especially if you're in the commercial restaurant space and custom homes, stuff like that. You've obviously had a certain level of success. My question's always the same at the beginning. Why have you done it? Why do you still do it?
I would say the best answer for that is I'm just driven, man. I've got other people's lives that depend on me to be successful. And I was raised not very lucrative cash-wise. We all worked really hard. And I got to a point to where I can do the physical part. I'm strong and I know I can frame a house. I can do every trade on the job. But, what was more applicable long-term for your health and for your stability in life is the business part. So you can take all those things you know how to do. And if you can learn the business side of it, then you can stay driven. You can wake up every morning with a new goal and want to be able to provide all the things you didn't have. So I was driven by the fact that I have responsibilities and I love building. I love seeing the look on people's faces. It drives me to want to get that next big home or that next restaurant or whatever it is. It pushes me when I hand them the keys and they're ecstatic and they've had a great experience. It makes me want to do it again and replicate it and just get better every time. So I stay driven, dude. I will literally get up at 4:00 in the morning if I need to and work till 3:00 in the morning, nap, and go do it again. I have a long battery on me. I'm 36 years old, so it's getting a little bit shorter of a fuse, like as far as start to finish goes. But I'm a go-getter, man. I don't want to look up and be 55 years old and still have the same goals. I want to be able to not only elevate my family, but for all the people who dedicated their time and their loyalty and their desires and dreams along beside me, I want to be able to elevate them. If I'm a billionaire, I want them to be millionaires. And that's just my mentality. Yeah. I want everyone around me to be successful. That's why I have been successful, because I care about the people that stayed with me. And I know that, and I value that.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot going on in there. I hear that you're driven. I hear that you care for people. Obviously, all those that are major drivers. It's funny that you said something in there where, you are doing it almost subconsciously because you're just driven, and that you don't want different goal, or you want different goals at 55. You don't want the same goals. That made me think of a moment in time when I was expanding my franchises and I had 3 and I was trying to open up 4 and 5. And I was almost going to potentially start the next year in the same count or same space that I had ended the previous year or started the previous year. And it ate me up for a good couple of weeks. I'm like setting targets for the year. And it was just a signature on a piece of paper, buying another franchise. But I had to get it done because that started the next year in growth or in another level. So I haven't told that story to a lot of people, but that's what it made me think of when you're just like, no, I don't want to have the same goals. That would just eat me alive.
I don't procrastinate, man. If I've got something in front of me, I will figure out a way to knock it down, get it out of the way, and go on to the next thing. And it's something that could be a good and bad thing. You have to be careful with that kind of mentality. Sometimes you get ahead of yourself, but
100%.
In today's market, I feel like it's made for guys like me who worry and have anxiety, but not even in such a bad way. There's ways to twist that and make it good for you to not be full of worry, but be full of just discernment and knowledge and be able to apply that as you go. And it helps you avoid mistakes and make good decisions as you're moving and shaking.
Yeah, I love what you said there because that's really what the show's about. Obviously, we all make bad decisions and we try to highlight those things so we can all learn from each other's struggles because we all have them. They're not going to go away. But the reality of it is that success it comes from not only just those failures of learning in the moments, but it's all the other than good decisions, the discernment that you're talking about, the not just making things out of willy-nilly. Let me just go for it. Let me shoot from the hip. Yes, there's a lot of that, but if you can have discernment, not necessarily worry, love the language there, because that's really what it is. It gives you a confidence to be able to move forward. It makes the unknown known in circumstances.
Right, setting light, yeah.
That's right. Good. Okay, so how did you get started? Was it this business? Was it another business beforehand? How did you become an entrepreneur?
So I've always had something going on, even since I was a teenager. I always had a kind of a hustle. I started out welding more than anything, but my dad quite a bit, and he was an auto body man by trade, but he built houses here and there, did rock masonry, stuff like that. So I learned the trades young, and we were do-it-yourselfers. I think my first actual business, I had a bar and grill that a friend of mine wanted to get into. I had the remodeling skills. I went in there, tore the place up, I made it look really cool. It's a big place. I did that for several years, and I got to a point where I started having kids was my main thing. I met my wife. I had my first child, and I was like, okay, I can't do the 2 o'clock in the morning stuff. I can't do the tossing, fighting with drunk people, stuff like that. I just didn't want that lifestyle anymore. It was a successful business, but I was always doing kitchen remodels or building fences for people on the side anyways, because I could have $1 million in my pocket, cash, and I'd still want to go make another million, just because that's the way I am. Always hungry. I don't have a poverty mindset, but I have I don't know what you would call it. I have a mindset of it doesn't have to be enough if you can get more kind of thing. But it's not just financially, it's just relationships and everything. But so I had the bar and grill with a buddy of mine. And then when I started my family, this is just not going to fit the kind of dad I want to be, the kind of person I want people to remember me as. So I jumped both feet in and started Homeland Construction in 2011. I think that first year I was on every single job site every single day for the first couple of years. I just kept getting better at the business part, building relationships, subcontractors. I did what I said I was going to do, and people knew that. They knew I was going to pay them. They knew I was going to show up. They knew I was going to be a man of my word, and it just snowballed from there and just became bigger and bigger. And here I am today. I think we did 25 custom homes last year, probably 5 investment homes, spec homes we call them here. I don't know what y'all call them there. Spec homes for sale, a land development, restaurants last year. I always set those goals. My first year in business, I was doing remodels and pipe fencing and pool decks. We could literally cover the whole index of construction projects. And then I said, okay, next year I want to build 2 custom homes and I want to get into commercial. My first commercial job was at a restaurant building dumpster gates and handrails outside. I got over there and got in good with the owners. I showed up. I did what I said I was going to do. I invoiced what we agreed on, and then they just started calling me directly. So it just really launched me into that space, which was really good for me because it gave me the big business side of construction. It gave me the high dollar contract side that I wasn't even ready for at the time, but I had to fake it till I could make it. $3-4 million projects, not even 2 years in San Antonio and Hobbs, New Mexico, and all these places for these massive franchises. Right. And my trick to business is always project yourself of who you want people to look at you as. And that doesn't mean being fake. That just means if I see myself as the best builder and the best guy to do business with, and that's how I'm going to project myself, even if I'm not there yet. So even when I was smaller, it's always let me get with my office. And really, my office is in my shop, and it's a 6x10 rectangle that I framed and stuck a computer in. But you always want to project yourself smaller to be a bigger business, I think. So.
Yeah, I think it what you're doing is you're playing into, unfortunately, what perception is. It's not you making a false impression, playing off of what people's perception is of what success looks like. If you or I drove up in a Lamborghini, certain people would think certain things of us. Call it what you want. I don't own a Lamborghini. I could buy one cash if I wanted to, though. But I don't need that. But if I drove up in it, you would think a certain level of me, or maybe even negatively, because there's some negative connotation that goes along with that.
Yeah,
but
there is.
The reality of it is that there's perception. And so what I'm hearing you say, just even in your journey, I want to pull out a couple of things for the listener that I thought were just super applicable, is each year you just took some time and said, okay, like, here's what we did. Here's what I want to do now. And it wasn't this unbelievable, hey, we're going to do 25 custom homes next year. It was, hey, I want to get into this space. So I'm going to make a couple moves this year to get in that space. I'm going to do a couple homes. I want to make a couple connections. And of course, just even taking that time to then even think about those things, let alone set those targets, is really what propelled you even into the relationship side, which then led you into the contracts, which then, before you were even ready, like you said. Anything to add there from the vein I'm in here?
So I would say you don't always hit every goal. Not anybody in business or any kind of sport or anything, no athlete is going to hit every goal they ever set. But I think without goals, and I'm not talking about you have to hold yourself accountable to a date. I think that you get it done as soon as you can. But I think setting goals was my biggest vision board up here, to know, I hold myself responsible to that. It's like trying to be impressive for my Lord and Savior. He's never going to be disappointed in me, but I still want to impress him, and I want to impress myself. I want to look back and say, I did this, and I'm proud of myself. And I think setting those goals and having those line item achievements of, okay, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, it really helps you broom in and consolidate those goals to an achievable point to where you can say, how do I get there? And you can go one at a time. And for me, you don't have to be disappointed in yourself as long as you're trying, but that's the way I'm wired. If I don't hit that goal, it'll drive me insane. It'll just eat at me and eat at me and eat at me. So whatever I got to do to get there, as long as you're keeping integrity and you're not manipulating, man, I say do whatever you got to do to get your goals reached.
Yeah. With you a few minutes ago mentioned that you did what you said you were going to do, and people started to recognize that. It's unfortunate that those things are so easily recognized in an environment where most people just don't. But even now, knowing maybe even the source of why you want to be excellent, with your faith being involved in that, for me, being excellent isn't necessarily always about being the best or the achievement. Yes, we're obviously high achievers and we want to reach for the next thing and fulfill our potential, all that. That's how we're wired. That's how the Lord made us. But there's this likeness, like what you're talking about, as far as I want to impress, I want to be excellent. Why would I want to not be excellent? Is that a good representation? Right. No.
There's only one thing truly in common, Chaz, and that's this, that every single man, woman, and child on this planet has the same amount of time in a day, and I just don't believe in squandering my time. I won't do it. Yeah. I'm not a sit down, veg out, watch TV all day kind of guy. I honestly have gotten away from a lot of professional sports because I'm like, it's nothing bad about it. I love baseball. I love the Texas Rangers, man. That's my thing. They're not paying my bills. They're not going to kiss my kids goodnight. So why would I be glued to a TV when I can be out getting it? Improving myself, if it's not in business, and improving who I am as a man and learning, reading my Bible, soaking in advice from people who are wiser than me, things like that. So I don't want to miss those opportunities because the TV's on or whatever it is. And that's just a general example. But
sure,
if I'm up, I'm getting after it one way or the other, personally or in business space or whatever it is.
Yeah. On the same vein, I've used the language, especially when I was younger, working in corporate America and in a sales environment. People come in Monday talking about the game and this, that, and the other. And did you get to see the game? And I'd say I didn't. And, oh my gosh, it was the fill in the blank, the Super Bowl, the NFL, or the Final Four. It was the whatever big game. Like, yeah, bro, last time I checked, Wolf wasn't on the back of any of those jerseys.
Exactly.
It is on the back of my jersey, though. And what I was doing this weekend was rooting for Wolf. He wasn't at the game, though. So I had to, Yeah.
I'll catch the highlights. I love sports. I coach baseball every single year. I'm on the board for our little league here in Weatherford, and I love it, man. I love promoting kids' sports. Sports are very important for children. Team, work ethic, all that stuff. I played them my whole life at a high level. But at the end of the day, my favorite, Texas Ranger is not coming to my house to take care of me. So He's not supposed to. I'm taking care of me. So I just draw a line on that stuff to where entertainment is entertainment, and when it's time to get after, it's time to get. So I don't, like I said, I don't want to look up and be 55 and still trying to get to the point I want to be at by the time I'm 40.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate the perspective, man. We're cut from the same cloth. I want to know along the way here, specifically if you can go back to where maybe before seven figures, because that's where the listener is, right? They haven't hit the $1 million mark yet in revenue. And I want to know, what was the biggest struggle for you in trying to get to that mark?
I would say there was two things that kind of were my biggest hindrance. I would say the number one thing was this confidence in the bid process. Whenever you've got somebody's home, restaurant, their dream in your hands, and they're trusting you, you want to do it right.
Yeah.
And when you're first getting into that bigger project, Mark, it's really hard to bid with confidence. You're relying on subcontractors, on materials, on timelines to make sure that these go as planned. I'd say that on the business side of things, I would say that's the biggest thing, is having confidence in your bids, willing to do the research. So you get a commercial set of plans, man, you're talking about 70, 80 pages of spec books and phone calls for every one of them. And when you're unknown, when you're coming up, you have to forecast yourself as bigger than, because all these people in New York or LA or wherever these materials are coming from, you don't have an account with them. You never bought with them. They're not invested in you. They're not getting commissions off of you. So you have to forecast yourself as, hey, look, this is my first one with you guys, but look at all this other stuff. Or look, I've got so many things going on, and I'll bring them to you. And I did do those things. They did me right. But that was hard to get over that earmark. Even on the custom home side, you're going through and you're building secret passages into a library that they want out of white pine, and they want a wine cellar or whatever it is, whatever astronomical thing that just seems really big. And I remember my very first one was a rotating TV around a 360 fireplace on a motor. And I'm like, I can weld anything. And I'm thinking, weld a track up. I researched this thing for 90 days, but I never showed the lack of confidence to the customer.
Right.
I just said, yeah, I got it. No problem. And really, I was freaking out because back then those TVs were $4,000 and the fireplace was worth 30, and I can't screw this up. And so just things like that, those challenges like that, having the bid confidence on the business side. I would say on the personal side of that, to where the most difficult thing to get to that next earmark of you're building $200,000 starter homes, or which those don't exist anymore, but or whatever it was, stepping your game up and you start getting into that bigger structure is just being real, because you're looking at a grown man or woman in their eyes and they're trusting you to put a roof over their head. And that's a big deal. To me, huge deal. Your kids are going to sleep in there. You guys are going to raise a family there. That's a big deal to me. It may not be to everybody, but that is massive in my world. And so just being honest, and I think not being scared to be honest when something goes wrong, not sure how to accomplish something. That was my biggest jump and difficulty to get over, is having the confidence to just be incredibly real and transparent all the time. I'm a transparent guy with my customers because I want them to know we're all human. We're going to make mistakes, whatever it is, but just knowing that it's going to be okay in business, that you're not going to lose everything because you have one ticked off lady or man or whoever it is, and knowing that like tomorrow will come and you will get another opportunity to be excellent. Getting those couple of humps right there is what propelled me from that smaller tier, that six-figure tier, into that seven-figure tier and beyond. Just being able to be confident.
Yeah, so I was gonna highlight a couple things. I heard obviously the confidence piece, and that was a mindset shift. It sounds like it was also a knowledge base, like getting the relationships with the materials, understanding the customer journey and how to communicate that customer journey to the client, so that way they had confidence in you, but then also knew that it's not perfect. You're going to take good care of them and you're going to be vulnerable. I think some of those things, if you can put them all into, whether it be your estimating sales process and getting all that kind of lined up, knowledge and understanding, confidence, and then even the same thing, the knowledge, understanding, confidence in your back end, which is your customer experience. But those are huge. And obviously a front end and a back end of a business. And I relate to that. What would you say, I want to kind of get into your brain around decisions that you've made. What would you say is a good decision that you've made, especially maybe back then, that same time frame before you hit the seven-figure mark? What was a clear, you look back, boom, that was something I could do again?
I would say just on a strictly business level of that, I would say allocating some responsibility. When I started backing off the reins a little bit, let's be honest, nobody's going to take care of your baby like you do. And this is just the reality, and I'm okay with it. At the end of the day, there's very few people who are going to ride it until the wheels fall off with you. If something goes wrong, something goes right. When things are going right, everybody wants to be a part of it. when things aren't going super smooth, when money's tight, when mistakes happen, when jobs get, whatever it is, whatever you could possibly go through in the business world, you really find out who's there to cut for you, is the way I would put it. But I would say backing off of some of the control was my biggest jumping point of saying, okay, because originally I estimated, I invoiced, I contracted, I budgeted, I purchased, oversaw everything that this company did. I was involved with and almost 100% in control with just employees, guys more like partners, more like you're invested in this. And that's why I didn't call this Branden Cook construction. I wanted it to be something, Homeland was home and land, obviously, but I wanted it to be something that you could be proud to go home and tell your wife and kids, hey, I work for Homeland, or I got a job with, or you wouldn't believe what we did, or look at our billboard. I wanted it to be something you could grab onto. And I think having that mind shift of it's just not me, it's got to be the people around me, and backing off of that control a little bit and allowing those guys that I gave control to make some mistakes, because they're humans too. And we all live by that grace. So being able to say, hey, you handle invoicing, and giving someone control of the finances. And that's really where the biggest jump in my career has been, outside of the 6 to 7 figure, but just that and beyond, was, just having a guy there that I trusted wholeheartedly, that I knew had smart financial sense, and being able to go, you do this, and I'll go do the stuff that I know. Right. And that was huge. It was an absolute game changer. That's when all the land development started, the investment properties, just really the super tall end of this game, which there's still multiple more levels than where I'm even close to. I could be out all over state to state, but control. Relinquishing some control and having faith that it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay because you're doing the right things. Yeah. But that's the hardest thing. Any business owner, anybody who is invested, because those guys can walk away. At the end of the day, they can go get a job at Walmart. You're not giving your dream up like that. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we're in this. I've got tools and trucks, advertising, and my name on the line, and I'm not a failure. So at the end of the day, everybody else can walk away and go start over, but it's not as easy for the guy with money on the line, with the name on the line.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. So good. I got a follow-up question for you in that. I want to know, in that good decision of relinquishing, how did you get to that place? Like, you're telling the listener right now to go relinquish, right? That he needs to let go of control. But what is the thing that he needs to experience, that you experienced, to tip him over the edge where he's, I don't have any other options but to give away control?
So I can only look at it from my perspective as like a family man, right? Because I have a wife and kids that I would absolutely die for, right? I want to spend every moment with them. And for the family man's perspective, what do you value more? What do you think your kids will remember? The fact that dad bought them a new bike, or the fact that dad made every football game or baseball game or whatever they're into? Right. On the younger man's side, maybe the single man's side, I would say, do you ever want to have that life? Because if you don't give up control of some of these facets of your business, it's almost impossible to either A, get it, or B, keep it. Because nobody wants to be at home alone, raising your family without you. No woman that I've ever met, besides maybe a special couple. My wife is an amazing person, but worn out with me being gone all the time back in the day when I was traveling. And so we had a sit down. I was like, look, I'm gonna take a pay cut. I literally took a pay cut back then to be able to hire more people. And you can't put a price on your time, though. And that's the thing, is that you will not be able to put a price on the 6th birthday party. You won't be able to put a price on your first ballet recital. So finding that balance and figuring out, if you're driven to be a single guy or a single woman and you're okay with that, then go do you. But I think that was my biggest motivator, and my biggest head change was I would rather be an excellent businessman and also be an involved father. And so to do that, you absolutely have to find someone who you can trust, to at least to a certain level, to be able to allocate some of those responsibilities to. Because if you don't, you will do them all. And the further you get down the rabbit hole with that, the more business you have, the harder it is, and the harder it is, and the harder it is to relinquish some control, because then all your eggs are in your basket. And if I could go back and do it again, I would have done it a year earlier. I would have sought out some people to come alongside me and treat them as equals instead of employees, and be able to take some of that responsibility off my back. But that's the thing, is you have to decide what kind of man or woman you want to be, and you have to do it while you're young, because it's hard to hit that reset button when you're 50.
And at that point, potentially you've missed. It doesn't mean that you can't start over. You just said it's just a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
What about a bad decision? Take us to the dark place.
So I would say, man, there's so many. I would say I won't name names, but I got into what I thought was going to be a golden opportunity years ago. And it was right when I was kind of breaking that cusp of I'm a commercial and residential builder because there's not a lot of us. There's not a lot of guys who can go out and build a $2 million custom home and then turn around and be remodeling a restaurant or building a ground up restaurant the next week. There's just not a lot of companies that do both.
Yeah.
But that was my goal. So I would say in that space, trying to get to that space, I took on a project that I knew here in South Texas. It was a massive build, and I knew that the budget was tight. I knew that wasn't a good fit for me. And really, I wouldn't take it back because it had changed who I was as a businessman and a man, honestly. But I let my boundaries get pushed, and I let someone, there's a fly in here, sorry. I let someone treat me, I want to use a nice word for it, but I let someone treat me like I was less than who I was. And I got into this really big commercial project, and I knew the money was tight. I knew I didn't bid it high enough, and I went forward anyways. And I want to say that after it was all said and done, I lost about $50,000 on that project.
Yeah.
But I learned a valuable lesson. If the numbers aren't there and I'm bidding it as well as I can, I'm not going to manipulate a number to get a job. I won't do it. Because if you have to manipulate it to get it, you got to manipulate to keep it, right?
Yeah.
And then I also learned to have my own boundaries and values. I will not let people talk to me, especially, yes, I may be your builder and technically we're under contract, but I'm not your employee. And you have to draw that line. You can be friendly. You can treat people as equals. You can care about their story, their journey, their wants, their desires. But their problems or their stress cannot be yours. And this one job in particular just ran me up the flagpole, man. It made me miserable. I was gone 5 days a week. I'd come home on the weekends. I missed everything. I think my daughter was probably 2. I would say 2. This is probably like 2013. It was like my 3rd year in, something like that. And I was missing everything. And I was miserable. And I learned so many lessons off of that I've implemented on every single job ever since. And it hurt because if you want a lesson that you'll remember, let it hit your wallet. Because those are the lessons, when it breaks you and you can't pay your bills and you're worried about how you're going to pay your employees, you will not forget that. If you make a mistake, but you figure it out and you move forward, you could maybe make that one again. But when it involves massive income loss like that, you will never forget that lesson.
Yeah, you're right. We all know what that kick in the face feels like financially or just overwork wise, whether it's a project that takes us too long or whatever, that burnout feeling. We've all felt that. The decision-making process that you've got now, you touched on it a few minutes ago, but I want to give you just a chance to be able to maybe just explain it. When something comes across your desk now, whether it's a project, whether it's deciding what to do on your calendar with the family or not, or hiring, like we got all these types of decisions. So what's the discipline or process that you follow?
Honestly, as simple as it sounds, 90% of everything that I do is just in deep prayer, man. It really is. If I don't feel peace about it, I don't move forward. And there's been times where maybe I overthought something or I underthought something and I might have shot myself in the foot. I'm very confident in my faith. And I feel like I lean on something bigger than me, and that's God. And I pray about things. And if I feel peace, usually I'll go to the next step. If I don't, then I'll just say, hey, this isn't for me, or I don't think we're a good fit or whatever. And I'm not scared to say that to people. I've turned a lot of them down. And it wasn't. You look on Facebook 6 months later and the guys, there's a horror story up or something like that. You know, so it's like, whoa, dodge that bullet. Yep. But my wife is my sounding board, and I trust her opinion, and I trust her level of discernment and faith and just good-heartedness to be able to say, hey, you don't seem at peace with this. And that's important. Not everybody has that. So I would say, and I know not everybody's a Christian. And so in the business world, I feel like you have to find some kind of sounding board to bounce those things off of that is maybe not directly involved. Right. But they can go, that doesn't sound right, or that doesn't sound like a good decision to me. But people you can trust. But that's usually my process, man. So you call me and say, I want to build a custom home. So there's obviously like a general list of questions we ask. How big is it? Do you have plans? Do you have financing secured? How do you blah, blah, blah? But ultimately, it comes down to, I don't charge people for that first meeting because I may walk away, or maybe you will. Maybe we meet each other and we're like, man, this is not my guy. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And you have to be okay with that, because if you believe that you're putting out a good product and that you're good at your job, then you have to also believe that not every project you can build. And you got to believe that if you pass on one, there'll be another one on the table. And that's generally how I break it down. I try to dig in with the people, I go to the customer, and then I just spend some time in prayer about it, man. At times, I will say this, I've walked away from one home in my entire career. One commercial job and one home was my only earmarks for walking away from them in an amicable way, contractually, but to a point to where I was like, this isn't going to work. And it was the 2 rules that I broke that I have now that I'll never break again, which was If I had to manipulate my numbers or myself, then I'll have to manipulate it to finish it or keep it.
Yep.
And boundaries. And then not spending that time in deep thought and prayer, just jumping into something because we wanted it. And every time I've ever done that and not went through my process like rigorously, I've felt, a lot more stress or whatever you want to call it, just a lot more anxiety about it. So I won't do it again, but I'm glad. I'm fortunate for those lessons because now I don't have to go through that again because hopefully
pop me upside the head once. I got it.
I'm not forgetting that. If it hits you in the pocketbook, especially, that's when you really remember because now your hustle has to increase tenfold to get that back and then still take care of what's coming next. So
exactly.
It can be incredibly overwhelming, man. And in today's market, people tell me all the time, they're like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this and that. I'm like, hey, go get it, man. Go get it. But just know that this is a pretty hard market right now. It really is. And people are freaking out. Even the people with millions of dollars in their bank account are freaking out because everybody's relying on that income from somewhere. It's either oil and gas or Wall Street or investment properties or whatever it is. And the taxes are up and the gas is up and the stock market and all this craziness on COVID. And oh my gosh, it's just been a whirlwind of everybody freaking out for 3 years or something.
Yes.
You really have your head on straight to do anything in a business space and do it well.
Yeah.
Hey, Kings and Queens, Chaz Wolfe. I want to talk to you about something that's super important to me. We put a lot of time and effort, we meaning myself and my team, into this podcast, into the content that goes out every single day. And if you have been getting any sort of value or insight from this, we want it to be able to reach other business owners too. So we would love if you would like, comment, share, leave a review, post, share again, all of the things on social media, on all the different platforms, or even on the podcast mediums of Apple and Spotify. We would love to be able to get our content into more hands, more entrepreneurs, so they can grow their business as quick as possible. Together, we are building a community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are committed to growing their businesses to new heights. So let's do this. Let's help each other. Let's help each other grow.
As simple as that sounds, I want to just echo that keep your head on straight. And really what that means is that you've got a calmness about you in amongst the storm, whether it's prayer, whether it's a sounding board like you talked about, but there's that place of quiet where that brings a confidence, a calmness, a confidence to be able to see through the craziness. And I think it's spot on, especially for the market that we're in right now, whether it's building, whether it's real estate, whether it's marketing, you name it, things are changing faster than they ever have before. So it can be fun, but there can be a big challenge. I want to switch over our attention just to, I call them speed round questions, but it's a little bit different line of questioning. I want you to take your entire business and I want you to dwindle it down into one trackable metric. What is it?
I would say customer service, customer experience. We've done astronomically well with experience. And I think that's the main thing. That's the thing that I look at the most. It's not spending. It's not really time. It's at the end of the day, are these people happy? Are they giving us a positive review? Would they refer us to their friends, their family, their cousins, their aunts, whoever it is? Because the whole point of business is to be able to repeat it. I don't want them to call somebody else when they build their next house or their next restaurant. I want my phone to ring.
Yeah.
So customer experience, customer service is the number one most important thing in my world as far as business goes.
Love it. Okay. What book would you recommend that a six-figure business owner read?
Man, I'll be honest with you. I don't really read books. I've never read any self-motivating books. The only book I've ever really read, I've obviously read books in my life, but
sure,
I read the Bible. That's pretty much.
It's a pretty good one.
There is not a question on earth or a situation you can get into that you can't find the answer for. There's just not. I'm a Bible guy, and if I read anything, that's what I'm reading is some scripture. It motivates me, makes me feel peace, and you got to have that calmness to make it today, I think. So.
I love it. Love it. Okay. And do you network or mastermind intentionally with other entrepreneurs?
I do. I'm always looking to build relationships. I'm always looking to either outside of the vendors, prospect of it, suppliers, stuff like that. I always try to treat my subcontractors really well. I always try to make new friends. If I'm at Home Depot, I was at Home Depot 30 minutes ago getting stuff for these guys, and I walked into an electrician. I was like, hey, I'm looking for an electrician. He said, oh, man, he had a nice shirt on. He had two guys with him. They weren't cursing in the aisle. They were talking respectfully. I like that. I'm like, this is the kind of guy, because the guy that's in Home Depot, the builder that's in Home Depot, that's frustrated, that's spending money, that's who the real guy is. That's usually his purest form. He's not on a job. There's not a customer there. He can just do what he wants to do. And I always pay attention to people at places like that, like at Home Depot or like anywhere that, mostly Home Depot, but that you can walk into in a public place and you can really see a cashier. I just always pay attention to that, but I'm
100%.
constantly I'm always trying to make that next connection and get that next company on the book if I can, make sure that I have plenty of resources. If my guy's busy, I can call somebody else. But yeah, we're doing stuff. We actually started a builders association in Parker County that I chair, and I haven't gotten it super off the ground yet. I'm selecting board members right now, but
nice.
I wanted to do that because there's like these greater Fort Worth and like Dallas and all this stuff, and we don't have one here, but we have to just research this, but there's a lot of people moving here. And we're not a small place by any means. We're not a big place by any means. There's a lot of people moving.
Sure.
So stuff like
create
that.
Your own network.
Try to create and honestly be able to maintain that network and bring my vendors in, my window supplier, my plumbers, stuff like that. Elevate those guys as well who have been good to me, who have been there, done their job well, helped elevate my business, and put them in front of some other people to where they can grow. They can buy another truck and put a crew in, whatever it is. Like I said in the very beginning of this chat, if I'm doing really well, then I need them to at least be doing really, really, really well right underneath me, if not at the same measure. You know what I mean? Because that makes you're surrounded by successful people. You don't have a choice but to be successful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're influenced greatly by the people that you spend time with, for sure. All right, last question here, Branden. If you lost it all today, what would you do tomorrow?
Go do it again.
Same thing, same industry, same service.
I would probably make the same mistakes, honestly. No, I would do it again. But say something catastrophic happened and I wasn't able to be on a job site or use a computer or whatever it was, I would go do it again. I have a passion for handing people the keys, man. I love it. I love it when your kids walk into their room, they're like, oh my gosh, my closet's so big, or look at this game room or whatever it is, or look at our pool, or whatever measure that they're excited about in their new home or whatever it is, especially in the restaurant part, because then if I build a restaurant, I get to bring my family back to there.
That's right.
But
and you get to tell your kids about it.
Yeah. Like we took a trip to San Antonio recently. I built this massive restaurant and it's called the Rustic, and it's huge. And it's so very custom, incredibly custom. My wife and kids have never seen it. And we went down there to go to, I don't even remember what we were doing down there. We went down there for like a couple of days. I don't even remember what we were going to do. SeaWorld.
Gotta go to Rustic.
Yeah. And they were like, and my wife actually was like, hey, let's go to that restaurant you go down here. I was like, okay. And I walk in and people are like, oh, hey, Branden, or whatever. And they see all this crazy stuff that we did. And it's just something you can hang your, like, Dad built that. I not only built that, but a lot of that I designed. And I take great pride. So I would 100% build it again. If I lost it today, maybe a different business name, I don't know, but I would build it again, man. I enjoy what I do. It's been hard to enjoy it in last couple of years because it's so stressful. Yeah. But at the end of the day, man, you hand a family a keys to their luxury home, and dude, it's a feeling like you're in control of that, and there's just nothing better. Yeah, I don't think.
No, I told you before we hit the record button here that I just got done building a home, and so everything that you've said, I've been on the other side of it the last 19 months. And our builder had the mindset that you have of that moment of handing me the keys and being prepared for that and ready for that and journeying even with me to that moment of here you go. I think things would have been very different. Not that we had this god awful experience, but it was this struggle. And I think a lot of it would have been solved by the things that you've mentioned, the customer journey, the experience, caring. Not that he didn't care, but it's a matter of that moment. It's the moments. And that's really what I've taken away from this entire thing. If I could summarize everything, that you're big on the moments in the business with your family, this, that, like you're creating moments, memories from the moments even, but you've got to create the moment of handing them the keys is everything. And so then there's got to be all these other things that line up for this moment to take place. And I think that it's something that gets missed a lot in business. So I hope that the listener takes that away.
It does. And if you're in my space, if you're in the construction world, especially, haven't heard that phrase.
Younger guys won't, they'll be like, what, my space? What are you talking about?
Well, if you're in the custom business of anything, whether it's making custom cakes, building a custom home, custom this, custom that the show will go on. You cannot make everybody happy. You can try, but you cannot drive yourself crazy You cannot forfeit all of your mental fortitude, your peace,
Right.
to accomplish a goal that may never be possible. So being able to realize that, be okay with that, is a big way to make yourself successful, I think, is just knowing that you're not going to hit a home run every time, but I can get on base.
Yeah, that's right. Branden, you've been incredible. How can the listener connect with you? Maybe they have a project that they want you to build. They got a big old restaurant in Texas or something. How can they find you?
So obviously we have a Facebook page. It's Homeland Construction. Mine is pretty recognizable. It's a Stars and Stripes H logo. You'll see it around the greater Fort Worth area. Homeland Builds, BUILDS.com is our website. All of my information's on there. It's Branden at homelandbuilds.com. If you got any questions or want to reach out for a project, you can go to info@homelandbuilds.com. Yeah, I'm around. I'm not hard to find, so I'm not shy, so if you call me, we'll probably have a great talk and go from there. Yeah. Would love to hear from anybody. And maybe you got a question. I'm never afraid to help somebody else, another builder, whatever. I'm doing it for a minute, and people call me all the time, like, okay, you got to do this. Go back over there, FaceTime me. I'll show you how to fix it.
Yeah.
I don't hold all my cards close to my vest. I'll put it out there, man. I want everybody to be successful.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I didn't say it earlier, but since you brought it up again, just about a natural conversation. The other thing I got from you here today was just the abundance mindset that you operate in. Abundance for yourself, abundance for others, even in this case here, wanting to help other people across the country. I think it's incredible. Dude, we wish you nothing but success, blessing on your business, your family, your horse business, all the other side gigs, your family, your children, all of it, dude. I'm just so thankful that I got to have you here and get to know you, and we'll continue the conversation as well. Thank you for being here.
I'm thankful too. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing literally over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings literally exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.